Hi, I'm Rob Tweed. I've made this video to provide you with a quick preview of the application you can build by following the tutorial that you'll find at this page, and specifically at this link here. So here's the application. Before I take you through it, let me tell you about the technology stack that you'll be using when you build and run this application. It's a pretty interesting stack and probably for most people an unusual one, but you're going to find it's very powerful and potent. So let's start with the application itself and specifically its user interface. You'll perhaps recognize from the user interface layout that it's based around what's known these days as an admin user interface. So you have the typical menu panel on the left, a work area to the middle and right, with a header above and a footer below. This particular admin user interface is based on an open source Bootstrap 4 based version known as SB Admin 2. It's actually been deconstructed and re-implemented as a set of web components. If you haven't already heard about web components, you really need to find out. In my opinion, web components are one of the most powerful and important W3C web platform standards to be introduced in recent years. Read about them here. These here are the specific web components that we'll be using. They implement all the basic core features of that SB Admin 2 theme I showed you, providing you with, in effect, a set of reusable building blocks that you can put together as you wish, like Lego bricks, to implement your specific application and functionality, but presented using that SB Admin 2 theme. What you'll create in this tutorial is just one example of what's possible with this web component library. An important aspect of this library of web components is that they've been built to work with a web component framework called MG Web Components, which you can read about here. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems to me that the current trend in front-end JavaScript development, using frameworks such as React, Angular, Vue, etc., with their associated annoying and time-consuming compilation or bundling step, their massive tool sets and complex build chains, which typically take hours alone just to set up correctly, has all become way too complicated, unwieldy, and burdensome. So a key feature of this MG Web Components framework is to go back to a simpler world of front-end development. These web components are implemented as ES6 modules that are dynamically loaded by the browser as you run the application. The MG Web Components framework is very small and lightweight. It's just a relatively small ES6 module itself, and otherwise there are no other frameworks involved in this application. It's all just vanilla JavaScript and makes use of the web platform technologies such as web components that are already built into your browser. So there's no compilation or build step. As soon as you write the JavaScript, it's ready to try out and run. This is how JavaScript front-end development used to be done, and now we can go back to doing it again. So back to what the application you'll build in this tutorial is going to do. It's going to demonstrate the so-called CRUD cycle for a persistent data structure, in this case representing a person. CRUD, if you're not familiar with the term, is an acronym of create, read, update, and delete, the four actions that typically represent the life cycle and how you'll make use of data records in a database. So as such, this is a pretty handy application, but an interesting aspect is that the user interface for the entire CRUD cycle is maintained for you by just one pre-built web component assembly that's part of the admin UI library. All you'll need to do is customize it using JSON configuration settings to make it work specifically for your person database records. Speaking of the database you'll be using is this one, Iris from InterSystems. But you could also use any version of their earlier database technology known as Cache. You can learn all about Iris here. The tutorial will show you how you can use its native Iris persistent classes and SQL, but the tutorial will also show you how to use an alternative way of using its database to persist and maintain in effect JSON documents. This latter approach uses a really cool but incredibly powerful abstraction layer known as CRUD. Read all about it here, and in particular I'd recommend you watch the video at this link. So what about the back end for this application? We'll be using node.js, but specifically we'll be making use of a node.js backend framework known as CRUD. You can read about CRUD here. We'll be using CRUD's built-in WebSocket support, so communication between the application running in your browser and the node.js backend will be using WebSocket messaging, all handled automatically and very simply as far as you're concerned. CRUD will also be providing built-in session and security management. Finally, the CRUD backend integrates tightly with the Iris or Cache databases using this open-source interface module known as MGDBX. It provides an extremely high-performance in-process connection between Node.js and the Iris database. We're talking close to in-memory data access speeds, so orders of magnitude faster than any other typical database connection you might be familiar with for Node.js. So this is an extremely powerful technology stack. It's all based around the very latest standards and with speed of development and runtime performance as key benefits. With that, let me quickly show you around the CRUD application that you'll be building in this tutorial. Let me refresh it and start it from the top. So the first thing you'll notice is that it provides a user login step with user authentication implemented at the back end. If we type in an invalid set of credentials, then you get an appropriate error returned from the back end. But log in correctly, and up comes the full admin UI display with a personalized greeting at the top, a menu on the left, a footer, and the main content area here in the middle. So what we're looking at in the content area is the CRUD user interface, and currently it's showing no data available in the table because we have no person records in the database yet. Click this button to add a person record. And up comes an Enter New Person card with a form asking us for the data held in our person record. The demo application keeps this deliberately simple with just 3 data items in a person record, name, gender and city. But more fields of different data types could be added if required later. The user interface is fully responsive, so if I shrink the display, the Enter New Person card drops to the bottom. I can click this toggler, which shrinks the sidebar and brings the Enter New Person card back. And the user interface will also work properly in a mobile device. So I'll fill out the form and click the Save button, and you'll see the new record appears in the summary table. Let's add another record. And we could carry on. And of course these records have been saved in the Iris database. So we're already seeing the C and R, create and read steps in the CRUD cycle at work. How about the U, the update? Well, we can click the select button in one of the summary table rows. And now we see all the data fields for the selected record, but they're currently read-only. Click this edit button and the form fields become read-write and a save button appears. So if I say edit the city and click save, you'll see the edited record now appears in the summary table. So finally the D in CRUD, the delete step. Click the delete button in one of the rows. And just to be on the safe side, to prevent an accidental button click, we get a modal panel pop up asking us to confirm the deletion. If we click cancel, then we carry on as before and no deletion takes place. But if we click yes, then the record is deleted from the Iris database and also disappears from the summary table. Lastly, we can log out of the application by clicking the menu option in the left-hand panel. Once again, we have to confirm that we really want to do this, and if we click logout, then you'll see after a few seconds it reloads the application and we're asked to log in again. Behind the scenes, the previous user session has been safely deleted. But if we log in again, just to prove we're using a database, back comes the summary table showing the one remaining person record. So that's the application. If you liked what you saw and now want to learn how to build it and how to use this amazing technology stack, go now to the tutorial at this page where you'll find a very detailed step-by-step guide. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.